All right. Hello. This is Tuning Week. This is my favorite subject. I truly, truly believe that everyone should be tuning their vocals no matter what. It's just how we're used to hearing things, and it just sounds so much nicer on the recording. And you know what? We go watch singers live. We'll go watch you live and we'll applaud you and we'll be so happy with your natural voice. But when we're playing it in the car next to a radio song, we're going to notice if your voice isn't tuned. But live, it's totally cool to not have, and I prefer that you don't run your voice through autotune when you're live, but a lot of artists do that. That's a risk, and I'll explain why. So here is another cover I'm working on, a classic song called My, My, My. You might recognize it. And I'm just doing the chorus so I can show you my approach to everything tuning. I'm going to use multiple different tuning plugins, and so you can get an idea of what each one does. Also, keep in mind your budget when it comes to purchasing these plugins. The most affordable and best used plugin is called Waves Tune Live. It performs a lot like autotune, but it is not my first choice. I just feel like I get the best sound out of autotune. And contrary to popular belief, autotune doesn't mean it's going to sound fake. You control how much of that T-Pain-ness you're going to be using. That is up to you based on how you use the plugin. I really go for, super natural sounding vocals. That always is great. So perfect, but natural sounding. I get that effect using autotune. And then I personally just use Melodyne, which is tuning by hand. So not automatic tuning. I only use that one when autotune's not really capturing it correctly. And I'll show you how it cannot capture you correctly. First, let's have a listen to what all these vocals are going to sound like without any tuning. And at the end, after we tune everything, I'll A-B it again for you so you can hear how big of a difference this makes.
My, oh, how do we ever get this way? Where's it gonna go? My, ooh, how we gonna make it through it? What's it gonna take to do it?
Yes. Okay, so a tuning lesson is a lot more effective when you hear me singing very pitchy. So I normally probably would retake this part because I was really flat. But for the purposes of our tuning class, that's actually really helpful for us to see. So let's open up our plugin called Waves Tune Live. It's going to be under my pitch shift plugins. By the way, just so you're aware, not all pitch plugins are meant to tune vocals. I like to think of pitch shifting and tuning as separate things. Tuning plugins are plugins that can snap your note to the right grid. Pitch shifting, however, is just going to push wherever you are up and down by a number of what's called cents or semitones. So if you're not singing like a perfect A, for example, A is 440 hertz based on our standard tuning system. But if you're singing like 445 hertz and you pitch shift it up a full semitone, that's not going to be a perfect A sharp. It's still going to be 5 hertz a little too high, but it will shift you a full semitone, which is also known as a half step. Cents are smaller increments of that. I'll just show you on, you see the ratio slide right here. So from wherever our source audio is, if it's pitchy and we pitch it up, 1 to 2 to 4 semitones, it's going to pitch it by a ratio. It's not going to snap it to the perfect note. And cents, notice when I move it, you almost don't even see this slider go up and down because this is very fine tuning. This is really just moving it just a little bit. And I do use this for something else. I'll show you in a minute. So now you know the difference between tuning and pitch shifting. Let me show you a real example of what tuning looks like. So here is Waves Tune Real Time. And make sure if you want to buy this one that you buy the one that's called Waves Tune Real Time. So this is like the auto version of this. So now that I have it on, I need to set the key. And if you don't know what the key is, here's a cool way to find out. And I'll show you how to do this in autotune as well. Just press play with it on without touching any of the settings and watch what notes you are hitting. And if you know your music theory, as you should, you will find the key by seeing which notes it's hitting.
My, whoa, how do we ever get this way? Where's it gonna go?
Okay. I see it hitting the F sharp, the G sharp, and an E. So I'm going to guess this is in the key of E. So to set the scale in Waves Tune, you would click the letter of the scale, but then you also want to make sure you change the mode of the scale. So this is the mode, and here's your drop down, and you have all the options of types of modes. We're just going to stay in major. I really just use the major keys. It just keeps my life easy. If you speak minor mode, cool. But I just pretty much always use the relative major, even if it's in minor, just because that's the way my brain works and it's easy for me. So let's play it now with E major set and see what it's going to sound like.
My, whoa, how do we ever get this way? Where's it gonna go?
Cool. So one thing I love actually about Waves Tune is notice how above the notes, so basically what it did is it added these little purple dashes when we set the key. So like if we change the key, notice how they move. That's the program saying, okay, we're not allowed to hit these notes. Okay, so I know that I sing flat. So if I notice that there's a certain note that I tend to keep singing flat, I can click on this purple and it'll create an arrow. What that arrow is doing is saying, if I get close to this note, push me this way. Or I tend to go flat, so push me this way even more. All right. Or if I'm singing too sharp, like prioritize pushing me this way. I'm going to leave it neutral right now, and then I'm going to watch and see if I, tend to sound flat on certain notes. Right now, the automatic settings are pretty natural. So these are the two knobs you want to pay attention to. Speed is how fast it's going to commit you to the note that you're nearest to. And then note transition, how much bend there's going to be between notes. So the more of this note transition you allow, the more bending you're going to be able to do without sounding like T-Pain. But obviously, if you pull it all the way down to 0, you're going to sound like T-Pain. So let's hear what that sounds like.
My, whoa, how do we ever get this way? Where's it gonna go?
Okay, I'm noticing that I tend to be flat right here. So I'm just going to see if that helps us.
My, whoa, how do we ever get this way? Where's it gonna go? My.
Okay, do I need the D sharp? Another thing you can do is you can just click above the note and disable a note in the scale. That's super cool. Let's see if that helps my case.
My, whoa, how do we ever get this way? Where's it gonna go?
Ooh, that helped. You heard that, right? I definitely don't need to be hitting this. Throughout the scale, you have places where two half steps are next to each other. So if you're singing the upper one and you tend to sing flat, it could pull you to the lower one, which won't be good. That's basically it for Waves Tune Live. I really don't want to dive into all these extra parameters. There is formant shifting here. You can change, like if you're in a detuned scale, like you can detune the scale, things like that. But for the most part, I just want to give you the real basic stuff that you're going to find useful and not overwhelm you with a lot of extra stuff. Just play with these two knobs until you get the most natural or unnatural sound that you want.